Well, we have extracted one 440 liquid cooled engine from my Scorpion. It's pretty cruddy, but we will take a look at it. And hold on, I gotta let my kitty in here. I think she's out here. I guess not. Nope, she's sitting up by the deck. Anyway, sorry, the distraction. But I want to show you, I was in a quandary as to what got down inside that engine. I thought it might be in the manual, it talks about, and it's old school technology, that there is a cord that goes all the way around on both sides of that, a cotton cord, a number 50 cotton cord. My wife had a number 25 thread, and it's pretty thin. I called the Arctic Cat shop this morning and talked to him about it and asked if he'd ever heard of that. He says no. He says from the factory, he says it comes with a sealant. He said they never used a cord. So in my manual, this one right here, it's using some old school technology. And anyway, I wasn't going to put the cord back in. I had kind of suspected that that is what got pulled into the crank, whipped around, got stuck up into the reed valves, and you can take a look at my reed valves. I have cleaned those. Remember, those were really rusty and pitted. Well, they're still pitted, and you can see that, but they are clean. And I took everything apart, cleaned them, so they're ready to rock and roll. This was the cylinder that I had purchased, and I want to show you what I ran into. Now, this was obviously a used cylinder from a salvage yard up in Michigan, and the guy I bought it from is one fantastic guy. You know, you think salvage yards, well, they're not going to care. I called this guy and I showed him, see that thread in there? That's only about 3/16 of an inch of thread, and the rest of it is all stripped out in the hole. Let me get a better look at maybe that hole. You can see how far down the threads go. These holes hold the head down. I mean, you've got your studs go through here, and then you've got 4 bolts that hold the head to the cylinder. Well, with that little of thread, and the hole is kind of boogered up to begin with. I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of oval. So I took some pictures, sent an email to the guy that I got off eBay, and he was so kind that he said, no problem, keep the one you've got. He says you can drill that out and helicoil it, which I thought about, but I paid $100 for that. He put I don't know if it's the matching cylinder to this one, in a box, and he shipped it out Monday. Today is Tuesday. I am to get it today, and that's just fantastic. No charge. So problem solved, and I just might get that drilled and put a helicoil in that just for a spare cylinder. But I mean, the cylinder itself is in really good shape. There's no scores in it or scratches of any sort, so it's a nice cylinder. Got the head. I got to clean up some of this gasket material, and I've got to clean up the surfaces here a little bit, but I've cleaned that up in the parts washer. Those carbs I've got to go through yet, but let me show you what I found underneath my engine. Looky there, a little mouse nest. Yep, that is where that garbage come from. And this is the air box. I have no clue. I'm going to pull it out. I have no clue how you can get that stinking thing out of there. I mean, it's like made in the sled. You can see where it's been rubbing on that lock, bearing lock there. It's kind of wore the edge down. But the intake on it, I don't know where the deuce it's at. It's up underneath here somewhere. But that's where that came from. I am sure of it. I'm just looking at the material there. Yep, and there's some of that material right there. And yeah, so my answer is mouse nest, and that's kind of what I suspected to begin with. But anyway, it encompassed a motor or an engine rebuild. So, but like I said, this engine I don't believe has been taken apart since it was new. I mean, just from looking at everything, it has not been touched in many, many years. So what we're going to do is tear the rest of the engine down. I've got a seal or a gasket seal kit coming. And on these 2-cycle engines, one of the big things that kills an engine is there's a seal. The seal back in behind here in the case, one there, and then there's one down here. And those are hard to replace. In fact, most times people they separate the cases, you know, and put the new seals in, reseal the cases up, and put it all back together. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the pistons off because this crank, when I blew down in there with an air hose, it kind of blew the crud around, and you know, I can't feel it now in the bearing. I did earlier, but I want to just take that crank and I want to clean it up. And anyway, I got to figure out how to get this clutch off. I don't know if I've got a puller for that or not. We'll find out. And then this end is where your water pump is at and your stator. And that's back up in behind here. So that will all have to come off, and which isn't a big deal. Just a matter of time. Give me time to clean everything up. I'll take this mounting plate off. We'll get all that cleaned up, the front of the engine, and all these areas where there's gaskets and sealant areas will be cleaned up. And I'm going to probably, just because that is an old hose, replace that. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me wrong, that's original. But I sure would hate to put it all together and then it pop a line. I mean, this one here looks okay. But there's one back here that's still on the sled. That one looks decent, but I'll take a look at it. I just, when you got it this far apart, it's like you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean, it's time to replace things that are difficult to get at to begin with, like this little hose here. You know, it's going to have some corrosion and stuff in there. If I can find that hose, we'll replace it. I want to take a look at this recoil. The recoil has got a little stickiness there when I was trying to start it this year. So we'll take a look at that. Maybe I'll restring it before I put it back together. And we'll clean out the bottom of it the best I can. And the summertime is ideal because you can just take a power washer and hit it, but I got that today. These are some of the parts. This is the good cylinder that I had, and you can see it cleaned up pretty nice. But I tried to hone it, and I don't know, you can't really tell it. I don't know if these are, somewhere I saw it that they said these were chrome lined cylinders, so I don't know if honing is the way to go. There you can see a little bit of scratching mark or whatever you want to call it. But get my new jug, I'm going to maybe get some new stones in my home too and try that. But it cleaned up nice, you know, everything I oiled and everything all up after I honed it, so we're ready to go. Surfaces are all cleaned. So that's good. Thermostat, exhaust manifold, a pile of bolts, and a Sidewinder hood. So that's all we got, friends. I appreciate y'all watching. A little update on the Scorpion, but I just wanted to show you the culprit. And that's what I figured. I figured that was up inside there. But it may be. That's why I want to try to get that box out of there. I looked inside of it and I didn't see anything, but you can't see, you know, clear up into the front of it down at the bottom. So, them mice, they can get anywhere and everywhere. I've seen them crawl up exhaust systems, you know, a greasy, you know, exhaust system, and plug up an exhaust system. They're just nasty little critters. They get everywhere, and then they eat your wiring, eat hoses. And we don't have them bad around here. Some parts of the country are really bad. But anyway, that's all I got. You see all my tools, everything's laid out. It's a mess. Haven't done much to the truck at all. In fact, nothing since the last video. So, and one of the guys commented about running a ground from my distributor to the engine, and I'm going to try that and see if that'll produce any pop. But for right now, let's go and hold. I got to get this done. I don't want to tear this all apart, forget how to put it back together, you know, that type of deal. So as long as I'm going full guns here, we're going to get her taken care of. Alright, thanks for watching, and bring it back when you have more.